Since the birth of our republic some 200 years ago, the United States Customs Service has been faced with an ever-increasing amount of foreign cargo being imported into the country. After World War II, the amount of imported cargo rose dramatically to the point where a record 518 million tons of foreign cargo was entered last year. At the same time, the United States is experiencing an alarming increase in drug abuse and drug-related crimes. It's estimated there are 7 to 8 tons of heroin being smuggled into the country each year to support 500,000 heroin addicts. One of the most common and successful methods of smuggling heroin and other illegal drugs is through the use of air and sea cargo. Because of limited manpower and resources, customs officers must continually develop innovative and effective methods of intercepting illegal drugs, while at the same time speeding legitimate commercial cargo to the marketplace. Selectivity is therefore the answer to this problem. It is the purpose of this presentation to introduce the latest methods of cargo examination and the special techniques necessary for selecting those shipments which are potentially high risk for narcotic. Narcotic smugglers often prefer to use cargo for the following reasons. 1, it requires no investment in special equipment such as aircraft or boats, and the specialized skills to use those methods of smuggling. 2, cargo can conceal greater amounts of narcotics than passenger baggage. 3, the shipment can be routed through a low-risk country to avoid suspicion. 4, the use of cargo can maintain the anonymity of the shipper and the consignee through the use of a company or corporate cover, a fictitious name, or a fictitious address. 5, cargo affords a wide latitude for concealment. Try to imagine the most bizarre method of concealment, and you can bet that it's been tried. 6, it is unfortunately common knowledge that cursory examinations are sometimes performed due to lack of personnel. For this reason, drugs are sometimes shipped in frozen foods or perishables, which require expeditious handling. 7, the final and most disturbing aspect of using cargo is the potential involvement of the people who handle it. Numerous conspiracies have been uncovered where cargo handlers have stolen shipments containing narcotics prior to a customs examination. We refer to these practices as internal conspiracies. The immense volume of cargo customs must process is one of the biggest obstacles we face. 100% examination of all cargo is not only impractical, it's impossible. Customs must use its resources with maximum effectiveness. Our most valuable resource is the customs officer with an active, inquiring mind who uses his imagination to stay one step ahead of the smuggler, whose primary concern is to, after all, outwit the customs service. For the customs officer to be most effective, he must incorporate into his examinations for revenue protection and enforcement of related laws a theory of selectivity for the detection of drugs. This theory of selectivity utilizes the following methods. 1, the review of shipping documents and entry documents to select out potentially high-risk cargo for thorough examinations. 2, the visual inspection of the cargo facility and shipping containers for the telltale signs that the cargo's main purpose is to smuggle drugs. 3, the use of enforcement information and techs. And 4, the use of detector dog teams, special narcotics inspection teams, and the proper equipment and tools to do a thorough examination. And of course, there's 5, the use of special techniques for examining cargo for the detection of drugs. Let's examine these concepts, but in more detail. The customs officer must never take anything at face value. The use of the 5 W's can be adapted from passenger inspection to cargo inspection. Ask yourself, who's the shipper? Who is the consignee? Are they really who they purport to be? Case in point was the seizure of 100 pounds of hashish concealed in 2 cages containing Himalayan bears. The shipper was listed as His Majesty's Government of Nepal, but the real shipper was a carpenter from Mill Valley, California. Remember, the narcotic smuggler has often invested tens of thousands of dollars in his drug shipment, and has gone to great lengths to deceive you. So question everything you see and hear. In addition to an inquiring mind, the customs officer must rely on his support personnel. Many districts have special narcotics enforcement teams who can be called upon if there's a suspicion that narcotics might be present in a cargo shipment. Detector dog teams are also available in most districts. Lately, however, drug smugglers have become increasingly aware of detector dog capabilities, and numerous seized shipments have been carefully packed to specifically prevent detection by dogs. For this reason, detector dog teams must be used as an adjunct to and never as a substitute for a thorough inspection. The tools the examining officer has at his disposal will often mean the difference between finding drugs and missing them. This equipment is used by one district team at all times and is carried in an innocent-looking briefcase. Probably the most important tool is the hand drill. The drill will allow you to probe containers and objects with little or no damage. Other valuable tools are the telephone company address directory, commonly called the reverse directory or crisscross directory. These invaluable books list telephone subscribers by order of address and by telephone number listed in numerical order. These books allow the customs officer to determine if addresses and telephone numbers of consignees are legitimate or fictitious. Business directories and regular telephone books serve the same purpose. The customs officers assigned to cargo must keep abreast of the latest methods of smuggling by reading MOIRs, Tex Intel bulletins, enforcement bulletins, and by keeping in touch with cargo officers assigned in nearby ports. Equally important is a thorough knowledge of the procedures and handling methods of cargo used by airline and steamship companies. Airlines and steamship companies use documentation in a simple yet highly efficient manner that provides the company with absolute control over both the location of the cargo and the information necessary to collect the money for their services. For this reason, the shipping documents and customs entry documents are the keys to narcotics seizures through the use of special selectivity profile methods. Let's review the documents that will be the most help to you in finding the shipments that contain narcotics. Inward foreign manifests, both air and sea, and in-bond manifests. These manifests will provide you with information on the port of lading, weights and pieces, a description of the merchandise, and in some instances, the shipper and the consignee. Airway bills and bills of lading are your most valuable documents in the detection of suspicious shipments. Shipping companies issue these documents for each legally carried shipment. The important information on these documents is generally always the same, although sometimes in different formats. This information is primarily for delivering the shipment properly and also serve as a bill for shipping services. Customs officers can use the information to detect suspicious shipments. To effectively intercept narcotic shipments, these documents must be obtained and screened prior to the arrival of the cargo or immediately at the time of arrival. Ships, manifests, and bills of lading are generally available prior to the ship's arrival. If this is impossible, they are obtained from the ship's officer at the time of docking. Air manifests and airway bills are obtained from the airline agent at planeside upon the arrival of the aircraft. These documents are contained in the cabin or in the cargo container that's offloaded first. Steamship clerks and airline cargo sections then keep these bills until the shipment has been cleared by customs and freight charges have been paid. They are available for review by customs officers upon request. Once you have these documents, to be successful at detecting narcotic shipments, you must be able to read and understand them as well as you understand your local newspaper. Learn to read airway bills and bills of lading by asking a trusted airline employee or shipping clerk to explain the different sections to you and obtain a copy of the carrier's tariff. to help you with what may appear to be complicated codes. Once you understand how simple these documents are, they'll open up unlimited horizons for improving your narcotic seizure success. Taking the information from these documents, we have developed a cargo narcotics profile that will be explained shortly. Now, on airway bills, we are concerned primarily with the following information. Where the shipment originated, this is listed by code and the airport is often spelled out. You may recognize some of these city airport codes. The routing and airline used to carry the shipments. The consignee's name and address. The shipper's name and address. The name of an agent or freight forwarder if one is used. The declared value of the shipment. The amount of insurance, if any. The method of payment and accounting information. The description of the shipment along with the number of pieces and weight. The cost of the shipping charges, special remarks, and handling instructions. Most of this same information is contained on steamship bills of lading and is just as important. To understand the cargo narcotics profile, let us examine the shipment from the smuggler's viewpoint. The smuggler is concerned primarily about three things. 1, the protection of his anonymity. 2, the adequacy of his method of concealment. And 3, the extent of the customs examination. The smuggler will attempt to structure his airway bill or bill of lading and the container in a manner that he feels will deceive you. Remember that every shipment has the potential to contain narcotics, but we can take advantage of these three concerns to review documents for key characteristics that experience has shown are prevalent in cargo narcotic seizures. The following profile information has been listed on airway bills for simplicity's sake, but most of the same information will be found on ships' bills of lading. First of all, where did the shipment originate? Our philosophy of selectivity places top priority on cargo shipments from countries which are source countries or transit points for narcotics. Great care must be taken that the listed port is the original port of lading and not a transshipment point. This is particularly true of Bangkok, where almost all air and sea cargo is transshipped through other ports. You must know your source countries for heroin, cocaine, marijuana, and hashish products. Remember that shipments can go to low-risk countries, sit in bond, and then have new shipping documents issued. For this reason, the entire document must be reviewed. Next, check the routing. Is it unusual? Say from Hong Kong to San Francisco, and then to Los Angeles, and then to New York, rather than direct? Or is a specific airline or flight requested? These are both tip-offs that an internal conspiracy is at work and that the cargo must be inspected immediately. The consignee's name and address requires special scrutiny. The names used by smugglers as consignees are often designed to impress you, such as doctor or professor, or an impressive company name such as Research Institute for Asian Studies. Always check to see if such a person or company exists by checking the phone book and the city business directory. If it is a real company or person, is there a text record? Use text on cargo just as you would on passengers. All small businesses importing merchandise from source countries are suspect. The address listed should be checked in the reverse or crisscross telephone directory to determine if it is non-existent or possibly a hotel room. Other ploys used by smugglers are to list a name and care of some other person's name and address. All shipments to post office boxes are suspect. The smuggler may further wish to protect his anonymity and at the same time lend an air of legitimacy by listing a name in care of a customs broker or a freight forwarder. The shipper's name is equally important. Is it an individual shipping something to another individual, or when the shipper block reads self, there's a good chance for a narcotic seizure. Another characteristic of a drug shipment is when the shipper lists a hotel or lists his name in care of another's name. Again, the shipper's name may be designed to impress you. Remember that the shipping clerk in the foreign country types in whatever name he's told by the smuggler. Numerous narcotic seizures have had such shippers listed as American Embassy, Royal Thailand Government, Ministry of Education, and so forth. Beware of shippers listing a U.S. address or a foreign address that is different from the listed country of departure. Next, check the declared value of the shipment and compare it with the cost of shipping. These values may be in a foreign currency which is listed. Does the cost of the freight justify the value of the merchandise? For instance, a used television valued at $200 was shipped from Bogota, Colombia to be repaired. The shipping cost was $200. Alert inspectors intercepted 5 pounds of cocaine. Always check for insurance. Legitimate commercial shipments are usually insured. Drug shipments are not. Drug shipments are usually prepaid and by cash. In the description of the merchandise, look for the following notations which indicate possible narcotic shipments: tourist purchase, gift, personal effects, handicrafts, returned U.S. products, suitcase, wood carving. Ask yourself, is the article worth shipping? Is there a demand for the article? Is it extremely large or extremely heavy, extra heavy for the type of merchandise? Then look for evidence that the smuggler is concerned about his method of concealment and the extent of your examination in the remarks column. Be alert for notations such as fragile, handle with care, urgent, or special remarks about the container or the contents. Be particularly suspicious about notations that instruct the carrier to hold the shipment, such as shipper will contact with instructions or hold at airport. These instructions may indicate that the cargo will be pilfered by an internal conspiracy. It's important to remember that not all of these characteristics will be present in the review of a shipping document for a shipment containing narcotics. For this reason, the cargo documentation profile must be coupled with a thorough visual inspection of the cargo and its packaging, whether it's break, bulk, van, pack, or container. There are characteristics which seem to be apparent in the packaging or containerization of cargo which contains narcotics. And here again, the smuggler will unknowingly leave telltale signals, reflecting his concern about the shipment in the way he packages it. Ideally, cargo should be visually examined immediately after unlading from the aircraft or vessel, or immediately upon devanning at a container freight station. This is to once again prevent an internal conspiracy from stealing the cargo and narcotics before customs can inspect it. When doing your visual examination, you should analyze each shipment and use your imagination to focus in on any factor that might indicate that the shipment contains drugs. Among the factors to consider in your visual examination are 1. The originating area. Observe the container for marks, addresses, style of handwriting, stickers, or other signs that the shipment is from a source country. Does the general construction appear to be of high quality when from an underdeveloped country? 2. Unusual markings and attachments, such as things that would alert the smuggler that you have examined the shipment, such as stamps or special tape on seams. Wire seals or a different color strapping are often giveaways. Unusual wrappings. These are normally encountered with suitcases involved in internal conspiracies to alert the conspirator that the shipment contains drugs. Notice that both ends are open to facilitate a switch of suitcases. Unnecessary wrapping, such as these suitcases. This is done to discourage an examination. Excessive cooperation. This ploy is used to lend an air of legitimacy to the shipment, such as the helpful citizen who attaches a key to the suitcase so the inspector can open it. It's probably a false bottom suitcase. Descriptive or directive notations are often used on false compartment containers. Look for arrows pointing up, fragile markings, delicate instrument, and so forth. When you see the notation, open this end, make sure you open the opposite end. Peculiar construction. Look for thick construction, irregular nailing patterns, thick side supports, or large runners on a small crate. Careful attention must be given to all laminated plywood, as drugs are often found hidden inside the plywood. Tampered shipments. This may indicate that drugs have been removed by an internal conspiracy. Once you have selected a shipment which you feel has the potential to contain drugs, you can conduct either a preliminary or a general enforcement examination. These exams differ radically from ordinary examinations for revenue protection. A preliminary examination gives top priority to the container itself. You should selectively drill, tap, pry, slit open the supports, runners, and plywood sides of crates. Always check the corrugation on cardboard boxes, as this has become a favorite smuggling technique. By cutting a small hole in an inconspicuous spot, you should then verify that the contents are not narcotics. All of these things should be done in a manner that is not apparent, so that in the event drugs are found, a controlled delivery may be made. If no drugs are found during a preliminary examination, and you're still suspicious that the contents could contain drugs, a 100% general examination is in order. The following procedures have proven successful. 1. Notify a trustworthy cargo supervisor that you intend to examine the shipment. 2. Conduct a private examination. In the event drugs are found, this will prevent the discovery from being general knowledge in the cargo area. 3. The shipping container must be maintained intact to allow for a controlled delivery. 4. Always examine the shipment from the bottom, never from the top. 5. Examine the container itself for drugs. 6. Examine the contents of the container in the back or the bottom. Containers and contents which are most difficult to open or examine most often contain drugs. The smuggler is hoping that if he makes the object too difficult to examine, or if examination would destroy the object, that you'll not inspect it. Don't let this deter you in your examination. 7. Test fabrics for impregnation with drugs. 8. If drugs still cannot be found, call the detector dog team. And 9. Remember that all your examinations are dealing with other people's property, and you should treat it with respect. If items are damaged, either repair the damage or leave a damage report slip in the shipment. And then carefully repack the shipment. Note on the carrier's documents that you have examined the shipment. In this way, you can assure the cargo supervisor. The most alarming aspect of cargo as an avenue of drug smuggling is the internal conspiracy. These conspiracies involve either airline employees, steamship employees, truckers, freight forwarders, security guards, storage company personnel, or a combination of all, in an attempt to import cargo shipments containing drugs. The drugs, or sometimes the entire shipment, are then removed prior to the shipment's inspection by customs. The common factor in all conspiracies is that customs never has the opportunity to discover the drugs. This is done through 3 types of internal conspiracies. The tap. A cargo shipment or excess baggage containing narcotics and other merchandise is imported, and then generally when no customs officers are on duty, the drugs are removed from the shipment. The pull. A cargo shipment containing partially or totally narcotics, sometimes up to several thousand pounds, is simply stolen from the docks or the airport area. A shortage or pilferage report is then filed by the carrier to cover the loss. The switch. A cargo shipment or a piece of excess baggage is imported containing narcotics, and the original container is switched with a similar container which has no contraband. The advantage to this ploy is that no shortage occurs and arouses no suspicion. These thefts occur at plane and dockside, in warehouses, and even at importers' premises. They generally occur during the hours when Customs provides no inspectional services. The magnitude of these conspiracies is unknown, but in the past year, Customs has seized substantial quantities of heroin and other drugs that investigation has shown were imported through the use of internal conspiracies and destined to be stolen. The solution to the problem of internal conspiracies is their prevention. Shipments that are suspected of containing narcotics destined for internal conspiracies are detected through the following methods. First, Customs Form 5931 Shortage Report Studies. By studying shortage reports, Customs officers can determine if there are patterns to shipments from source countries being lost, pilfered, or short-shipped. By asking the carrier to provide the airway bills or bills of lading on the shortages, internal conspiracies can be uncovered by determining if the consignee is fictitious through the use of the reverse directory or the business directory. Secondly, steamship companies obtain advance manifests for their vessels 2 to 3 days prior to arrival. These manifests should be screened using the profile data already outlined for suspect shipments, and shippers' names and consignees' names and addresses should be verified with the directories and then queried through text. Thirdly, airlines receive advance notices through teletype channels of all cargo laden aboard their aircraft several hours prior to arrival. In this manner, the airline knows how to deploy their cargo handling crews and equipment. These advanced teletype notices are identified by various terms, but are usually referred to as cargo load advice notices. They contain information on weight, pieces, port of lading, and often the consignee. When an internal conspiracy is suspected, a trustworthy cargo employee should be requested to discreetly supply you with the cargo load advice notices for review prior to a flight's arrival. And fourth, immediate boarding and review of manifests and studying documents. Customs officers should immediately review all documents and apply the cargo profile to shipments originating in source countries and narcotics transit countries. Shipments destined for export and in-transit bonded shipments should also be screened. Potential narcotic shipments should be examined immediately, and when IT cargo cannot be examined, the destination port should be notified of the impending arrival of the suspect shipment. These techniques, coupled with the use of discussions with trustworthy brokers, cargo supervisors, and carrier personnel, will lead to the successful breakup of any internal conspiracies in your area. One West Coast airport recently initiated a CF 5931 shortage report study and discovered a pattern of Code 2 pilferage reports for substantial amounts of cargo from Bangkok. The cargo enforcement team discreetly obtained the airway bills for the shortages and noted that the consignee was listed as the Balkan Imports, 519 Castro Street. The business directory listed no Balkan Imports, and 519 Castro Street was listed in the reverse directory as the Grand Central Answering Service. The internal conspiracy was apparent. Cargo load advice reports were then monitored for the airline until one day a 300-pound shipment from Bangkok consigned to Balkan Imports was listed on the teletype as arriving that night. A careful and cautious surveillance was established, and that night the conspirators began their work. The trucker arrived, and the airline employee loaded the suspect shipment. As soon as the truck pulled away, Customs patrol officers and inspectors stopped the truck. The shipment was found to contain 300 pounds of high-grade Thai stick marijuana and 10 pounds of heroin. Both the trucker and airline employees were promptly arrested. The manuals Special Narcotics Interdiction Techniques, and Principles of Passenger Inspection and Cargo Examination for the Interdiction of Narcotics, explore these techniques in great depth and must be read to fully understand the intricacies of profiles, cargo handling techniques, and internal conspiracies. The field is wide open and waiting for your help. These profiles and the techniques utilized by smugglers are changing daily, and your imagination will be the key to your discovering new methods of concealment and some of the largest seizures of narcotics ever made.